And we are coming to you from a small patch of Southern California that did not burn down.
Yeah, it's just my area here.
Yeah.
Still stands. Man,
Yeah.
the fires.
It was crazy.
You're always near.
They were surrounding us this last time, but yeah. So we didn't have a show last week because the fires, and there was one that was. There were a couple that were close, but the big one, the Getty one, that was pretty close to me. But it also, I wouldn't have been able to come here because the roads were closed.
The roads were closed.
They shut down roads, and then there's traffic and everything else, and it's just it's too hard to.
Yeah, you don't have to actually be right in the middle of the sort of fires in order to be affected by the fires.
Oh, no.
The reach, the mess.
Well, I mean, the 405 was shut down.
Yeah.
When you shut down the 405 in the Sepulveda Pass, for anybody who knows Southern California, this is a major artery. I mean, the 405 is the major north-south artery in the area, and it just, that's it.
Yeah, yeah. So you go into the airport, the university where we have both taught, Mount St. Mary's University, there at the top of the mountain. Yeah. They evacuated the entire university.
Your class was canceled.
My class was canceled. Yeah. So it was just one of those.
The fire was all around it.
Yeah, just,
it burned all around.
And then
the university.
A new fire started right up near the Reagan Library.
Yeah.
2 or 3 days after that.
And two friends of ours were in the evacuation zone there.
And I didn't realize that fire came real close to the Reagan Library.
It did, very close.
I mean, when they said, because I Reagan, but no. It was, real close.
The first one was with the Getty Center, and the next one Reagan Library. It's like the fire almost had a mind. It said we're gonna go after it next. Somehow if a fire had broken out next to the L.A. County Museum downtown, I would have thought, okay, something's in the air. But in any case, we're back, and really interesting box office weekend. I'm reading all these stories about how, Terminator Dark Fate is flopping. It could lose $100 million. It opened, catastrophically. No one saw this coming. Listen, people, I am by no means the world's greatest box office prognosticator, but there are certain things that are a fact. And here's a fact. The first Terminator, did some good money. Terminator 2 made crazy money.
Mm-hmm.
The next 3 Terminators each made 25% less than the previous one.
Mm-hmm.
The last one, Terminator Genisys, is the first one since the original Terminator to domestically gross less than $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time there is a franchise that has at least 2 consecutive downturns, and this one had 3, the franchise is dead.
Yeah.
Nothing has ever recovered. Why they thought that another one, bringing back the geriatric stars of T2, with gray hair and wrinkles and I mean, that was you're in my generation.
Yeah.
Do we want to see them come back?
No. And it's real clean. It's just that simple. And when you move down through the generations, you move into people who care less and less and less about it, have less and less connection to the 84?
84
film. Have no idea who Linda Hamilton is.
Yeah.
So when they see I love me some Linda Hamilton, but
Sure.
but if you're 30 and you see Linda Hamilton, you're like, man, she used to be hot.
Yeah.
That's where you go, and that's not good.
You know what you're doing when you bring back Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton, and they both look that old? Do you know what you're doing to me, the generation that you're really trying to get into the theater? You're reminding me how old
I am, and I do not want that. I want Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger in my head, looking like they looked in 1984 forever. That way, I'm in my head, kind of like I was in 1984 forever. Yeah. And again, 30-year-olds, 25 years old, they have no idea who these old people are, and don't care. And they've already seen much equally well executed films with the same sort of technology. Yeah. So there's nothing about the technology in that film that's fascinating. No. The first time you and I saw that liquid,
it was great.
That was fantastic. But they've been looking at liquidy crap, this and that kind of Android and everything on television, on streaming series, all kinds of fantastic things done every night of the week. So nothing that you're going to do on that screen with these battling androids do I care about if I'm 21.
It's not a surprise.
Yeah.
Not a surprise. But what did do well?
Harriet.
Yeah.
Harriet,
Tubman.
The Harriet Tubman film starring Cynthia Erivo, directed by our Cassie Lemons.
Yeah.
did very well. This is a little bit surprising. Now, some people might not be aware of this, but in the sort of Black Twitterverse, that this film, its casting, its existence has been very controversial. Lots of younger, particularly Black folks, have been beating up on this movie real bad for a couple of different reasons. One, Cynthia, who is fantastic.
She's really
wonderful, really good actress. Yeah. Cynthia is not African American. She is African. Mm-hmm. Of English descent, of British descent.
And see, I didn't even know that. Yeah. So it's that. I mean, there is that whole class of actors who are these classically trained British actors who are from Nigerian immigrant parents.
All these people. She happens to be of Nigerian descent.
Chiwetel Ejiofor, David Oyelowo,
so many. Ruth Nega, all of these. Yeah. And here they are playing these iconic. Yeah. African American characters. David played Martin Luther King, and Cynthia playing Ruth Nega played the wife in that Lovings movie about the Lovings. Yeah, and they're these British actors, and Black actors and Black folks in general are starting to take notice of this and be really kind of pissy about it. It's not her story, the story of African American slavery. Other thing that's problematic with that movie in the Black Twitterverse again is the central villain of this film set during slavery is a Black man, a Black slave hunter. Used to hunt down Harriet and all this and track her and all this kind of stuff. So they've written this movie set during the slave owning period, and they've somehow managed to make a Black man the central villain of the movie. This is another problem. Now, nevertheless, all of this sort of controversy within the Black community notwithstanding, the film did very well at the box office, better than expected. This is because
very interesting.
A lot of folks. Who don't know about these things, who aren't filtering these things this way, who are just looking for a fairly decent drama. And it is a decent drama. I didn't particularly care for it when we saw it some time ago. But it's okay.
It's fine.
And I noted these problems.
It needed a bigger budget. It needed a slightly different script. I mean, it's the story of Harriet Tubman is a bit of an epic story, and this didn't feel sufficiently epic.
No, it felt she's young.
She's young.
Frederick Douglass is young. And the scale wasn't correct.
The scale wasn't correct, and the reach wasn't correct. It only covers a couple of years, and it should have. You want to really do justice to Harriet Tubman, you really have to cover 10, 15 years of her life. You really have to sink your teeth into it. But nonetheless, she's very good. But that is interesting. And Lupita Nyong'o is Kenyan. Yeah. So there is a.
Yeah, she hasn't played a historical figure yet.
No. It's 12 Years a Slave, but it's a fictional figure.
It's a fictional figure. Yeah. But it's an interesting sort of conversation that went on and that is going on. If you didn't know about it, you wouldn't know about it. But it did do well.
Well, I think there is something to be said there that we are historically so ignorant that rediscovering some of these stories may have some traction.
Yeah,
even if not as good as they should be.
Now, look, personally, I don't believe in cultural appropriation. The thought of notion of cultural appropriation.
Everything's culturally appropriated.
Look, there's only one culture. There's just human culture. It's the only culture we got. So far as I am concerned, every human on the planet has claimed all of the cultures spawned by any of the other humans on the planet.
I am opposed to one cultural appropriation: pineapple on pizza. It's not right. It's not right.
Is that a Hawaiian culture?
It's whatever it is. It's wrong. It's just wrong. Right. It's just leave the pineapples in Hawaii and leave everybody else to. You can do California pizza. You could do Russian pizza. I don't care what you do, but I draw the line at pineapple. And my mother-in-law will eat it all day long, and it drives me crazy.
Crazy.
All right. We're gonna dive into it. We got good stuff this week. We got a giveaway of Galaxy Quest, the new fantastic Steelbook edition that has just been released, and an interview with my good friend David Howard, who created Galaxy Quest, the original screenwriter. Had a little chat with Dave Howard and a really, really, really interesting little bit of breaking news that's going to end the show with that interview. You guys are going to be stoked. Oh, it's fun. It's going to be really fun. So we're going to do that. We've got 4K stuff. I'm going to start off with some. It's after Halloween, but there was some late coming Halloween horror-y stuff that we should just make a quick mention of. If it's never you don't have to only watch horror on Halloween. You can watch it anytime. So we got some good low budget horror here. It came in too late for the last show, and we would have covered it just before Halloween last week, but there were fires. So I'll just hit a few of these really quick. This is fun. Gothic Harvest with Lynn Shay, Sophia Matson, and Bill Moseley. I do like the tagline here: "A voodoo curse won't let them live or die." I don't really know what that means, but it's better than most of the ones that we get in this. And actually, this is not bad. It's really, really low budget. This is from Cinedigm, but it's more original than most of these. It's about essentially it's a voodoo curse. It's a southern voodoo curse, and a bunch of women who are having a party, and there's one of them winds up being subjected to this curse, and it's got some good scares in it, and it's pretty well done for its contained concept and environment. Then we got one here called. This is Blumhouse was involved in this, and it's good to know that they continue to do this. This is also from Cinedigm. This is called Prey, Prey, not the other Prey. And, Blumhouse does have a way with somehow making the most out of these very, very low-budget premises. This is kind of a sort of a horror monster thing at the same time. The premise would be a little bit silly. There's this this one guy whose dad has been killed, and he's struggling with the aftermath of having to deal with that, and winds up getting involved with this program that lands him is part of his recovery in life. He winds up in on this jungle island, and next thing you know, he meets a girl. Don't ask why he meets a girl on the jungle island, but there's something on the island. It's supposed to be uninhabited, but there's something else on it, and the prey is who's hunting whom. It's it's a monster on an island movie. It's fine. It's not Island of Dr. Moreau, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Them That Follow. That's due for another version, isn't it?
Oh. Maybe not. You remember that because that one that they did with Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando, and where he wouldn't put his pants on. I mean, I don't. That might be apocryphal, but they say that for the entire shoot he wouldn't put his pants on. That way they had to shoot him sitting down.
Richard Stanley directed that,
and
God. I met Richard Stanley shortly around that time. I've shared that story on the show before. Anyway, Them That Follow and Art of the Dead. Both of these have something in common. They have attractive women on the cover, and they have snakes. And there it is. Could even be the same kind of snake. Anyway, the Them That Follow has Olivia Colman in it, who just won an Oscar, by the way, and a really, really good cast. Walton Goggins, Jim Gaffigan, Olivia Colman. That's not a bad cast.
Yeah, man.
The movie's not quite up to snuff with those people in it, but it you know what? It's not bad. It's been at a few festivals. It was at Sundance and South by Southwest, and it's not quite a monster movie, but it really it sort of feels like it ought to be one. It's about Pentecostal snake handlers in Appalachia, and Goggins plays the pastor. And it winds up going into a really, really dark and creepy place, and it winds up getting so dark and creepy that it really does feel like a Halloween movie. It's worth it. It's not quite gothic horror, but it's so gothic that it could be horror.
Yeah, it's that new Southern Gothic, bumping the microphone.
Yeah.
That new Southern Gothic sort of thing.
Totally. And then Art of the Dead has Tara Reid in it, along with an almost unrecognizable Richard Grieco, who has not aged terribly well. I know. Remember when he was?
Oh man! After he
replaced Johnny Depp on
21 Jump Street, and then Booker, and a couple of movies, and then Gravity.
Anyway. So this is the snake aspect of this is kind of marginal. It's really just the snake that's on the cover of the thing. But this is about evil that is accompanied by this collection of 7 paintings, which correspond to the 7 deadly sins. So it's a little bit like Seven. In that sense, except now we've gone into supernatural paintings, but pride, lust, gluttony, sloth, greed, envy, wrath, and there's like a curse attached to them, and it's not a bad idea, executed decently. And then the last set of these these are 5 films that all come from a new company that we are now covering, which is High Octane. High Octane does a lot of really cool low-budget stuff, and all 5 of these have something going for them. The first one is really good artwork on the cover here. Marla. This is a great tagline. Your first time with her will be your last. Ooh, really? Yikes. Kind of, I spit on your grave-ish a little bit. Anyway, the this is about an IUD gone wrong. I will leave that with you only right there. It is a mad scientist, mad doctor thing, and the IUD winds up being not such a great thing. I don't know if it's pro or anti-birth control. Kind of hard. Maybe might even be neither. But anyway. And then there is Landing Lake. Landing Lake is kind of sort of a monstery alien invasion-y thing. I don't want to give too much away here. It's a good premise. Something crashes in a lake, and something starts affecting people as a result. And how do you cope with it? It's a little bit like Alien. There's a little alien, little invasion of the body snatchers going on. But done on a low budget and a small scale in a very, very intelligent way. Ellipse. This is more science fiction than horror, but it's from High Octane, and also, likewise, done very, very well on a low budget. This is about an emergency like a guy who has to crash land, and winds up finding himself with his dog on an alien planet. And has to cope with the survival. It's like a desert island movie, science fiction style, a little bit. Blood Myth, good supernatural stuff here. This is about a journalist who is a skeptic about all things paranormal, and then his fiancée winds up falling victim to something that he doesn't believe in, and he goes off and discovers that everything that he didn't think was real is probably much more than real. And then there's one called 3 Lives. This has an even funnier tagline. You only get one. I don't even know what that means. 3 lives? You only get one? You're contradicting the title. Doesn't matter. It's okay. It starts with a woman who wakes up as a prisoner in this bunker. And so it's a little bit like Saw at that point, and she's been a hostage, and now you sort of catch up with, what she needs to do to escape her captor and all that kind of stuff. It's, been done before, but again, like all of these high-octane things, limited budget, limited resources, and very, very effectively done. So there it is. Now let's move to do some new stuff.
A little TV or the new stuff?
Or TV. Let's do some TV.
I'll dip into a little of the TV. I have it kind of organized over here, and some of the stuff is actually pretty good. From PBS, actually the BBC, but through PBS, this British series Press, which is a series that I really rather enjoyed. I watched it on BBC America. It's set in the world of the British newspaper industry. These two sort of rival newspapers. If you know anything about British newspapers in the real world, the British newspaper business is vicious. It's kind of like the American newspaper industry was 100 years ago, when guys like Hearst and Pulitzer, who ran the newspapers in New York, and were just engaged in this sort of vicious yellow journalism periods, 24-hour news cycles and all that kind of stuff, under a lot of pressure. Ben Chaplin in this series. I always dug Ben. He was a movie star there for a while, Thin Red Line, a couple of different things there. But he just brings a certain sort of gravitas to stuff that I always just thoroughly enjoyed. Anyway, this is a sort of really fast-paced, hard-hitting series. And it's interesting in that newspapers, we were talking about it a little bit earlier today, the newspapers are not what they were when you and I started in this business 30 years ago.
No.
Actual physical newspapers, but this actually keeps it really is ridiculously. I don't know what to even think about it. Vikings season 5. This volume. I'm
amazed
2.
This has gone 5 seasons.
It season 5, volume 2. Season 5 had 2 sections to it. This is the second half of season 5. 10 unrated episodes. The neat thing about this stuff is that each one of these episodes, this features each episode in an extended version. All 10 episodes are longer and contain more content than the episodes as they aired when you watched them on TV, which is interesting. To my mind, because Scandinavia, the Vikings, all this sort of quasi-historical stuff was always a little bit more interesting than the Game of Thronesy kind of stuff.
Yeah,
because it's a little bit. I mean, the production value is not even close. Not even close to what they're doing in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
No dragons, because dragons don't exist. But to the extent that this was coming from a quasi-historical place, some of these people actually existed and stuff like that. I found it more interesting.
And my ancestor turned into a character on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which was weird when I read about it because I watched the first season and I was like, okay, Gabriel Byrne is a Viking. I'm just not
dark-haired, swarthy Viking.
But then I found out that Rollo, the first Duke of Normandy, who was the great grandfather of William the Conqueror, that he was covered on the show. Well, I'm descended from William the Conqueror's uncle, who was an excommunicated archbishop.
Oh.
So I'm descended from Rollo as well, which is not unique. There are literally probably 100 million people who are descended from Rollo today. But yeah, I found that interesting. And the story of Rollo is really interesting. I don't know if they did it on the show, but he was too tall. They called him the Walker because he was too tall to ride small Norwegian ponies, and he wound up commanding Danish fleets because his dad was burned alive by a rival chieftain in the cabin, and Rollo had to flee. So, fun times in Norway back then.
and the thing about Vikings were kind of vicious, man.
Kind of.
I mean, dude.
Kind of.
It's like what the hell? So Game of Thrones is kind of funny compared to
which is amazing when you look at Norwegians today because they're the least vicious people in the world.
Yeah.
Hey, man, let's love and peace and
But it is a highly what is it? Homogeneous or heterogeneous?
It is
homogeneous.
Yeah.
Highly homogeneous culture.
Yes.
I mean, it's like even more so than like the Japanese, which is like incredibly.
But I don't think it would take much to push Japan to be to get back into samurai and shogun mode. I think if you went to the Norwegians and said, hey, here are some helmets and some swords and some ships, go raiding. No way. You couldn't get them to go there. The Japanese, though, they'd be like, all right, sweet. Give me my ninja outfit.
Well, for one thing, the Norwegians have a sovereignty fund.
Yeah.
Which that'll calm any culture down when you have $500 billion.
Yeah, oil. Oil does a lot.
That oil sovereignty.
Yeah.
Veronica Mars. So the relaunch of Veronica Mars original series, early 2000s, I think maybe 2003 or something like that.
Yep.
Enjoyed that series for a season or so. But it wasn't the kind of thing that I stuck with. Funny. A decade later, Veronica Mars comes back, and they had this whole Kickstarter thing at first, and then it did well, and they did a whole season. I got to tell you, thoroughly enjoy Grown Up of Veronica Mars.
Yeah.
Veronica Mars is a teenager in high school. Okay, but you can't.
Yeah.
Grown Up Veronica. You know what? Grown Up Veronica's a hot. She's a MILF.
Yeah.
And this is a dirty, dirty show. It really is. It's a dirty, dirty show. This show is, and it is so funny. It's just and nice little thing. There's an explosion, kills somebody in the show. The show goes a little bit darker than the other show did. Obviously,
it needs to.
Yeah, it would have to. And because of that, it was a pretty good first season for the reconstituted Veronica Mars. Neil Gaiman's Good Omens, which he wrote with the late Terry Pratchett. I watched it.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah,
Michael Sheen, David Tennant. What can I say?
I am not familiar with the original material, with the source material, but it's fun.
Yeah.
I know they tried to develop this a number of different times. I think they just got the right two actors.
Yeah, and that's why to the extent that it works, that's why it works. These two guys are having a hell of a time as a devil and an angel on Earth, sort of doing their thing. Includes about 6 hours worth of bonus content. went. And if you're, if you're really, really a sort of Neil Gaiman completist, you're going to want to do this. I enjoyed Lucifer when it was on television for a while there. Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans. This is so much fun. So like way back in 2002 or 3, I'm not ashamed to say that I was a big Teen Titans fan. I don't know why, but I was into Teen Titans.
I was too.
Teen Titans Go, which is the modern version of the Teen Titans, and they're actually younger. Whatever. I sort of grew out of it. This is a neat little DC animated series, Teen Titans Go versus Teen Titans. So what you have is the nefarious mastermind, Master of Games. He figures out a way to pit the Teen Titans of Teen Titans Go against the Teen Titans of 2003, and it's really kind of a neat idea and a whole lot of fun. I thought it was a hoot. So if you're a big kid or an actual kid, you'll probably enjoy that. Kevin Costner's series Yellowstone season 2. I got to tell you, I'm a little bit surprised that this series is as popular as it is. It's basically Falcon Crest, Dynasty, Dallas, all of those great sort of family-based dramatic series that we watched all through the 80s and early 90s, sort of reconstituted in this series. Dynasty, I think, is even on Fox television again, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it is.
And this is one of those with Kevin Costner as the patriarch of this Western family, and there's I'm like, wow, this kind of stuff still plays. Drama still plays.
It
dude.
Does. It's weird.
Peyton Place will always be Peyton Place.
If you get the right actor with gravitas.
Mm-hmm.
It'll play.
You can do one. You can do one of the things. Succession is one that they're talking about now. Have you watched it?
I have not.
I have not seen it yet. I'm gonna have to dip into it. Over 3 hours worth of bonus content on this, including an interview with Kevin Costner.
There you go. Good stuff. All right, we got some 4K here. These are all new 4Ks. I'm going to start off with the DC one, DC Universe movie Wonder Woman Bloodlines. This is an original DC Universe movie, animated. And it's quite good, actually. It's a Wonder Woman origin story, kind of a semi-origin story. But you got an organization called Villainy Inc., and they're going to invade Themyscira, the home island of Wonder Woman in the Amazons. So she's got to lead the battle to fight them back. Nothing particularly novel there, but it's all very well done, well written, it introduces the cheetah, which is cool. That's cheetah hasn't, I don't think, been done sufficiently really in the DC universes yet. And they also got a really cool preview here of Superman Red Sun, which is the next one they're going to release. And this is on 4K. It looks absolutely terrific. Has a really cool short on it as well called Death, which is based on the Neil Gaiman where he reinvents death as a young girl. It's quite interesting. So anyway, Wonder Woman Bloodlines in 4K, well worth seeing in 4K. It's really top-notch work. Warner's doing a great job with all that stuff. Stuber in 4K, don't bother.
Yeah.
This is a buddy thing with Dave Bautista and Kumail Nanjiani. It's well intentioned. I kind of like them both. I like Dave Bautista better, but it's just, as far as buddy cop things go, I don't really know why this movie even exists. And if you have to watch it, rent it. There's no reason for this to be in 4K. There really isn't. I know, honestly. It's like, you watch this and all you can think is, okay, Lethal Weapon in 48 hours and I'm done. I'm sort of done. That really writes the end of this whole thing. Kind of in the same general vein, Hobbs and Shaw, which is a Fast and Furious spinoff. 4K, worth it in 4K? I guess. It's really good CGI stuff. All the car stunts are totally fake, but they don't. It's hard to tell that they're fake. Sure, Idris Elba's great, and is it fun watching Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham kind of do their shtick? I guess.
Yeah.
There's
a weird thing going on in that movie where it was plain to see that neither one of them were going to lose.
Well, it's in their contract.
It's they're
not allowed to. Yeah, you know that, right?
I did not know this.
Yeah, it's in their contracts that they're not allowed to lose fights.
It makes for a ridiculous. You cannot. Oh man,
I know. The person who really gets the best of this is Idris Elba because he gets to be the heavy, and he's basically like a cyborg villain. and he gets to have fun, and it's okay. He gets to be more of an actor than the other two who have it in their contracts that they can't lose fights. Dude, let's be serious. Jason Statham would get his ass kicked.
Of course he would.
Seriously. I mean,
Johnson,
come on.
6'5" guy. For God's sakes.
Come on, Statham. At a certain point, just bite the bullet.
Yeah, dude. Yeah,
the Rock will eat you alive, man.
It would be funny if he knew it in the movie. If in the movie, instead of if he was just like, dude, I'm not fighting you. Why would I want to get my ass kicked? Get away from me.
Couple of good bald heads though, right? Is that the first buddy movie with two bald guys?
Yeah.
If you are out there and you're losing your hair, do not feel badly about it because these guys make a bald head look good.
They pull it off.
Anyway, there's 80 minutes of bonus features on this thing, alternate opening and deleted scenes, and tons and tons and tons of other stuff. So if you like the movie, you are just going to sit around all day and get nothing done. The Lion King, the new, I don't want to say live action, but CGI to death, this thing. Yeah. They just kind of take the heart out of it, to be honest. This is the Ultimate Collector's Edition.
Made a ludicrous amount of money, which I just would not have predicted after I saw it.
Outrageous amount of money. Good voice casting on here. We were talking about Chiwetel Ejiofor earlier. Alfred Woodard, Seth Rogen, Donald Glover, John Oliver, Beyonce, James Earl Jones. They just went to town. And it's beautifully done. And yes, Jon Favreau directs the hell out of it. It's even more impressive than what he did with Jungle Book. And yet it just feels totally soulless. It's got all kinds of, bells and whistles on this thing. The HDR is dazzling. The Dolby Atmos, if you have a Dolby Atmos system, it'll pump up those speakers. I mean, it is something to show off your system for sure. But you know what? Original movie's still better.
Yeah.
Significantly.
The animation is where that should be. The problem with that is that while it's not live action, it's also not.
It's photorealistic.
It's this photorealistic thing, and I do not want.
Well,
first, I have an issue with all this.
No.
But when you make it photorealistic, now we're really into a bizarre valley of the. Whatever they call it.
Yeah. And the last of our new 4K releases here is produced by Guillermo del Toro. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which has a long history of being a controversial book. This doesn't necessarily draw significantly on it, other than the title, directed by Andre Øvredal, bringing a little bit of Scandinavian Gothic sensibility to it. This all takes place in 1968 Mill Valley, America, and it's there's a nice kind of old school Gothic sensibility that informs these stories that are scary, but somehow a little too polished to be as scary as they should be. So I'm less enthusiastic about this than probably a lot of people. Part of it is that, once you get to this level, they have to be rated PG-13. You make them PG-13, you start taking the teeth out of them, literally and figuratively, and you're left with a movie that is more easy to market than to enjoy.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, Guillermo del Toro's name means a little something, so Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark does certainly look good in 4K and has a handful of extras on it, mostly featurettes and mood reels, and there's even some behind-the-scenes trailers and set visits, which is kind of nice.
It has the sort of creepy crawly thing that Guillermo does, where he contorts and twists human bodies up in that wacky sort of way that he does. So, if you're into him and the thing that he does, it's there. He didn't direct that movie.
No.
But he, you can see him in the movie.
Yeah, you can. His influence and his oversight is definitely a part of it.
Yeah. What are you going to go to? A few newbies?
Let's do new movies.
A couple of newbies over here.
We got more 4K, but that's all the new movie 4K. So let's dive in.
This is 4K too? Oh, yeah,
no,
yeah.
That one's not.
This is Blu-ray.
Yeah.
This was an interesting movie, Ophelia. Basically, Hamlet told from Ophelia's point of view.
Yeah.
Which was an interesting sort of thing to do from the director Claire McCarthy, Daisy Ridley, Naomi Watts, Clive Owen, all the sort of familiar characters. Hamlet's in the movie, but we're in Ophelia's point of view. I suppose if there's a problem with this movie, it's that we know what happens to Ophelia. So you know,
Right.
everything
Yeah.
at the end of the day must lead us
Yeah.
to there, and that sort of bugged me about that movie just a little bit. From the producers of A Nightmare on Elm Street, Ambition, nice little sort of thriller. Young woman, she's a singer. She's very ambitious. She's about to have the biggest performance of her life. There are all kinds of other singers who are performing around. They start to die. They start to die in these bizarre ways, and she feels like this sort of thing that's going on is creeping toward her. You have shades of Black Swan, shades of Carrie here. Not bad at all. I rather enjoyed it. Directed by Bob Shea, with an appearance by Lynn Shay.
Oh, nice.
Lynn Shay, who
Yeah.
run all the movies. Let's see here. We've got Strange But True, which is a neat little movie too. This is a woman. She tells her family that she's pregnant with her deceased boyfriend's baby.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem. But it's a sharp little movie. There's a whole lot more going on in it than that. I rather enjoyed it. Amy Ryan in the film, Greg Kinnear, the wonderful Brian Cox. Now he's in that series that we were talking about a minute ago, Succession.
Yeah.
Brian is just amazing,
and he keeps on doing everything. He just all the time.
Yes.
All right. We got Charlie's Angels, not the new one, which I am not going to see. By the way, have I mentioned that I'm not going to see the new Charlie's Angels because it's a woke Charlie's Angels. Let me explain something to you people. I was a pubescent boy in the '70s when Charlie's Angels was on.
Fawcett.
I watched it because it was not woke.
No,
because Angels in Paradise, the season 2 premiere that took place in Hawaii for no reason other than to put them in bikinis. That was important.
Yeah.
That was important to me.
Yeah.
So,
and the thing about it is, look, woke, not woke. The existence of Charlie's Angels, even in 1970, whatever that was, these three women
is really kind of a progressive thing.
We're already woke to the extent that we're going to give these ladies guns and we're going to let them solve some crimes. Yeah, they're working for the dude, they're working for the man, but that's okay. I was okay. I have no problem with Charlie's Angels, man.
Let me start with Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, the sequel to the Lucy Liu, Drew Barrymore, Cameron Diaz, Charlie's Angels, which is not on 4K. That's only on Blu-ray with a digital copy on it. Movies Anywhere. So that's a terrible sequel. It just was. It was just terrible. They included theatrical and unrated version here. It has a ton of extras on it. It's nice to see Bernie again. Bernie Mac left us far too soon. And he's really good in this. And it's got a few cute things, but this is a really, really, really substandard sequel that I honestly can't recommend in any way. The original Charlie's Angels, though, which has a phenomenal performance from Sam Rockwell in it. This is when a lot of people discovered Sam Rockwell, and he is great in this. I remember describing this Charlie's Angels, directed by McG, at the time.
Yeah.
I believe my exact words were, "This is the greatest thing that any intelligent being has created in the known or unknown universe." That's how much I enjoyed this movie. Watching it again, I'm still correct. This Charlie's Angels is a boatload of fun. Bill Murray, come on. It's just, this thing was absolutely a total and complete blast. Just wonderful. I didn't think I would like it at the time because I thought Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore, Lucy Liu, it's kind of a weird, that doesn't really match up to, no. I mean, you can't really replace my original Angels or even Cheryl Ladd, but boy, is this a lot of fun. It is just so tongue-in-cheek. It is relentless. When it's funny, it is through the roof funny. It is really, really terrific. So I really had a great time with this. A lot of the credit has to go, frankly, to the fact that John August and Ed Solomon were involved in writing it. Ed Solomon brings all of that Men in Blacky kind of humor, and John August, who does a wonderful screenwriting podcast, is one of the best cleanup guys around. So, I really enjoyed this. McGee's career hasn't really gone anywhere, but boy, that original Charlie's Angels is still a blast. 4K deserves every bit of it. Commentary with McGee on the Blu-ray, and deleted scenes and music videos and bloopers and 6 featurettes. It is a lot of fun.
Groovy. Couple of these?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's see here. This is a little movie called Assault with Tom Sizemore in the lead. I kind of like this movie because what it's really about is this woman who decides to rob and kill her abusive husband, and she and her best friend, decide that Tom Sizemore plays this detective who's going to try to figure out what the heck they're doing. This is actually a pretty sharp little movie that many years ago, 10, 15 years ago, Tom Sizemore, when he was a movie star, would have probably had a nice theatrical release and made its way around the world.
All right.
It's still a pretty good little movie. Tom Sizemore, now that's a career that just, what are you going to say about that? Tom Sizemore's career. He was there and he just went sideways, all that crazy stuff with Heidi, with the Madam Heidi, all that kind of stuff. But there he is, still working. The Art of Self-Defense. I rather enjoyed this very, very dark little comedy. This Jesse Eisenberg, Alessandro Nivola, Imogene Poots. Jesse plays this guy. He's just this bookkeeper, this accountant guy. He gets beat up really, really badly. He's kind of a meek little guy. He decides to join this dojo, which is run by this guy, Alessandro Nivola, who is really this sort of
still a really good actor.
Great actor.
Yeah.
And good martial artist and a good teacher, but he's really sort of this toxically masculine guy. And Imogene Poots is in the class, and she's a brown belt. And it's all about how Jesse Eisenberg becomes a bit more like them as he gains the skills to defend himself. It's some interesting questions being asked here. It's a bit of a dark comedy. I liked it quite a lot. Written and directed by Riley Stearns. This has a couple of bonus features on it, an important message from the sensei, and some cast and crew interviews there. You got one over there you want to knock off?
Yeah, let me knock off Red Heat. 4K of Red Heat. I don't know who thought that this needed to be on 4K. That's a very strange choice, but Lionsgate has given us, in point of fact, a 4K of Red Heat, starring James Belushi and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, here's the history of Red Heat. There was a moment back around, 19. When was this? Late 80s.
Yeah,
about 1990 maybe when this was released. Anyway, there was this moment where Walter Hill said, I really need to find another way to do another 48 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do another 48 hours. Eddie won't do one, and Nick Nolte won't do one. But you know what? I'm going to do one with Arnold Schwarzenegger and James Belushi, and we're going to make it, and we're going to take off on that Rocky thing, and we're going to do Schwarzenegger's going to play a Russian, because if they bought Dolph Lundgren as a Russian, well, they'll believe Schwarzenegger's a Russian. No, they won't. Anyway, so effectively, this is 48 hours done as a Cold War buddy cop thing. Does not really work. Arnold plays a Russian detective who has to pair up with James Belushi's completely undisciplined, crazy American detective to track down a Russian drug kingpin in Chicago. I mean, it's got some obligatory Walter Hill stuff in it. The action is okay. It's nicely shot. Matthew Leonetti shot it. It's a good looking movie, but ultimately, you got to remember this thing was produced at the time by Mario Kassar and Andrew Vajna, or Vanya, however you pronounced it, who were the guys behind a lot of these big dumb action movies at the time, and it just doesn't work. It's just a stupid big dumb movie. Lots of featurettes on it. One on Schwarzenegger and a featurette on the stunts and stuff like that, both in the Blu-ray and the 4K. But does this deserve to be in 4K? Is anybody really saying I need to beef up my 4K collection at home with Red Heat? I can't imagine. I really can't.
Interesting thing. Yeah, we were talking about the new Terminator movie, which I think came out a week or so ago. Arnold.
Yeah.
Arnold and that. Was that before or after the Conan movies? I know it was after.
Oh, it's after. It's well after.
It was well after all those movies. Because I'm asking myself, why is Arnold in this movie?
Yeah.
By then, he's already Terminator. He's probably already the guy from Predator. He's probably already the guy from... What the hell is he in that movie for? It's kind of nuts.
See, I want them to do another Predator with Arnold in it. He hasn't been in another one since the first one.
No.
Bring back Arnold, bring back Jesse, and say the first action movie to star 2 ex-governors. The marquee writes itself, man.
I love it. Wild Rose. Jesse Buckley, Julie Walters, in this rather uplifting and moving little film about this little young woman from Glasgow. She's been in all kinds of trouble, just getting out of prison. She's 23 years old. But she travels to America to become a country singer, which is not nearly as crazy as it sounds. To me, I can see a sort of musical kinship between these two places. And it's a lovely movie with a lot of wonderful performances in it. You can never go wrong with Julie Walters, as far as I'm concerned. Been in love with her since Educating Rita. A couple of bonus features, including some deleted scenes and an interview with Jesse Buckley in this really rather lovely movie.
And we have another 4K. This is the 4K of Scarface from 1983, the Gold Edition. Now, we're going to be talking about the World Is Yours edition on the holiday show. That's we're not going to cover that right now. But the Scarface Gold Edition, for those who just want the pretty much straightforward 1983 Scarface and not all the other bells and whistles and doodads. This is totally worth getting. I mean, Scarface looks great. John Alonzo was the DP. Fantastically well-shot film by a great cinematographer, and really cool soundtrack that includes Giorgio Moroder's soundtrack and some fantastic songs, all of which just, on 4K, lossless audio, really hums. They did a great job over at Universal putting this together. It comes with a Movies Anywhere code, so you can put it up there like I'm going to, so that your child will find it among the Disney films on Movies Anywhere. And I'm sure my daughter is going to say, "What is that movie?" And I will say, "Well, sit down now that Mommy's not in the room, and we're going to say hello to Al Pacino's little friend. You're going to love this movie." No, I'm not going to do that. Don't send us emails. No. But if you want to, gods at digigods.com, gods at cinegods.com. That'll all get to us. But I you know what? People forget this movie's nearly 3 hours long. Written by Oliver Stone, directed by Brian De Palma, and based obviously on the original 1932 Paul Muni film, but brought into the present day. He's now a Cuban mobster in the Havana airlift and all that stuff. One of Al Pacino's best performances. I don't care how hammy it is. Michelle Pfeiffer is terrific. Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, a little less than terrific. Stephen Bauer is very good as well. I just still think it's a great film. It's iconic. Everyone loves it. Bob Loggia is terrific in it. It's just so excessive. Everything about this film is excessive, but it's like Oliver Stone brings out the best in De Palma, and De Palma brings out the best in Oliver Stone. And the finale is great, and I just love this movie. I really love this movie. So there it is, Al Pacino and Scarface, the Gold Edition on 4K. This deserves to be on 4K.
Very good. So I have The Kitchen. This was an interesting little film that they put together, adapted from a graphic novel, I believe.
Yeah. It's like Widows, except not.
Yeah, and Widows, which was not that was a divisive film. I didn't care for Widows. Steve McQueen film from
the British miniseries is better.
Yeah,
it's very good.
Yeah, this sort of split the different. Look, there's some good moments in this film. Melissa McCarthy, Tiffany Haddish, Elizabeth Moss. In the movie, there's some good moments in the movie, but the movie really did not hold together in a completely coherent way all the way through. That's just a fact.
Yep.
Which is, Dom Hall, Gleason's actually pretty good in the movie. But, I don't know. If you're a fan of these ladies, if you're a fan of gangster films, just whole and complete, maybe you might find something interesting here. There's a featurette on it, the Movies Anywhere code and all that kind of business. But I don't know. Did not quite hold together this movie. I was a little bit disappointed. The Art of Racing in the Rain was a lovely movie. But you got to kind of be into these movies about dogs and what we can learn from our animals.
Yeah.
It's about this guy. He's a burgeoning mile of burgeoning Formula One driver. He has this puppy, and he sort of figures out a whole bunch about life because he has this dog that he sort of grows up with. It's lovely. These are not my kind of movies, to be honest with you. Learning from the dog, I don't know, whatever, and all that kind of stuff. Nevertheless, the Blu-ray has some special features on it, including an audio commentary with the director Simon Curtis. Underbrother cover 2. What the hell, man?
I know. This makes no sense at all.
Michael Jai White.
We were talking about
nobody
this before
from
the
first film is even in the movie.
I know. And it's all these years after, and there's no Eddie Griffin, and we are also now arriving in the shadow of Dolomite Is My Name, which, like Undercover Brother sort of leads you into an appreciation for what the original Dolomite was.
Yeah.
But now with Dolomite Is My Name on Netflix, which takes it in a more serious direction, it humanizes it. It's a rich, wonderful story. I've talked to so many people who've discovered it on Netflix and can't believe how good it is. This feels like it's taking a step backwards.
Yeah, and look, it's like we talked about it before. It's an IP, it's an intellectual property, and the sort of notion you put together the right elements, you can make a movie. So I'm not so mad at them. It's just that I'm like, why couldn't they apply all of that to something a little bit? Anyway, whatever. Yeah. Undercover, no special features on that at all. The Kevin Smith machine just keeps on giving.
It's crazy. That is the weirdest movie.
Madness in the Method, and it's not a Kevin Smith film. It's a Jason Mewes film. Jason Mewes, of course, we know from all those Kevin Smith films, all the way back to the original Clerks, and work your way through about.
Kevin threw him a bone.
Kevin throws him a bone. Kevin's in the movie along with all of that whole crew of people. But Jason is actually directing this movie, a movie that is about him. He's playing a character with his name, or Jay, from Jay and Silent Bob from the Kevin Smith films. And it's about how Jay wants to be taken more seriously as an actor, and kind of goes crazy. Anyway, if you're into all that Kevin Smithy kind of stuff, maybe you'll enjoy this. I thought it was just bananas.
And our last 4K is, I would almost say this is the pick of the week, along with Galaxy Quest. But this is, you just can't get any better. They have finally put, for its 80th anniversary, that's right, this year is the 80th anniversary of The Wizard of Oz.
Yep.
Now, it's also the 80th anniversary of a lot of other movies. Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Gone with the Wind. There's a lot of other stuff.
1939.
Gunga Din. There's a lot of other stuff that came out in 1939. That was a huge year. However, the one film that lingers is The Wizard of Oz. It didn't win all the Oscars, but it's the one that everyone remembers. It's the one everyone grows up with. My daughter keeps watching The Wizard of Oz, an 80-year-old movie that she watches with all of her, that she prefers to watch to a lot of new movies. It just is a magical movie for so many reasons, and it's on 4K, and it is an unbelievable 4K transfer. It is unbelievable. It is harder to do good 4K transfers, believe it or not, of older movies, especially like 3-strip Technicolor movies, because the resolution back then, the film grain, was grainier, and it's very easy to find detail in it that you don't want to find, to start making, so you can tell, oh, those trees are fake, oh, look, she's wearing makeup, oh, look, the ruby slippers are just made with sequins, they're not really rubies. You can pull seriously, you can pull detail out of the movie that will ruin it. So they have to be extra careful with older movies to make sure that the level of detail there is an archival level of detail, not, oh, hey, now that we can get the best out of it, let's just...
you can't crank it up to 11 just because. You shouldn't crank it up to 11 just because you can.
That tornado, it's not really a tornado. Oh, look, that's actually not the Kansas cornfield back there. It's just a big canvas backdrop. That stuff will become obvious if it gets too detailed. So you don't want to go there. You want to keep the magic, and boy, they did a great job. They did a wonderful job. It is just a beautiful transfer, and lots of great extras on here. There's a commentary with John Fricke and Barbara Fried Salzman, who is Arthur Freed's daughter. Arthur Freed, of course, who ran the whole musical operation over at MGM at the time, the great songwriter, and cast and crew. There's a wonderful Wizard of Oz making of a movie classic featurette documentary on here, and then a lot of great stuff on the Blu-ray as well, including a video storybook read by Angela Lansbury, and galleries and a sing-along feature, and a lot of other great stuff. It's but the most important part of this, frankly, and especially for us, is that it has a Movies Anywhere code. So it gets added to the library, and my daughter, who knows now at 6 years old very well how to navigate Vudu and Movies Anywhere apps, she can go on the smart TV and click, 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 click. She finds Little Mermaid. She finds Frozen. She finds Wizard of Oz. It is a parental dream come true. It really is. Trust me, the previous Wizard of Oz did not have that capability. This one does. Be grateful for it. Upgrade as fast as you possibly can. Dive into it. The Wizard of Oz, one of the all-time great achievements in movie history.
Groovy. I've got one over here, a rather sharp and pointed Mexican revenge film called Tattoo of Revenge. This is set in Mexico City in the early 90s. a woman is just a horrible, lawless time. All kinds of the police are crooked. Everything's horrible. This is woman who's going around, and she finds these men who have raped young women.
Oh.
And she gives them a drug, and she tattoos them across the face in other places. Yeah, it's really where she's disguised this, and it's a very, very sort of sharp and pointed sort of revenge thriller going in there. And it's a really, really neat little movie. It comes with a few. It's in Spanish. It comes with a few features with subtitles. It comes with a few features, including some deleted scenes and a making of a documentary and an interview with the director and producer.
Fantastic.
Love that little movie. Couple more here. I saw this film when it came out, Angel of Mines, Noomi Rapace film with Luke Evans. It's about this woman who's grieving the death of her daughter, and she starts to sort of lose a little bit when she believes that she's seen her daughter, and that her daughter is still alive. And what it means to their marriage. It's a very, very good little film. It's a mystery. It plays like a drama, but it's actually sort of a mystery thriller. I thought it was actually quite good. I'm surprised it didn't get a bigger release. Special features include the making of and some interviews with the cast and crew.
And one more.
You can go on.
All right, so we're gonna dive into classic movies, library titles now, catalog titles. I want to start off with Milestone. The people at Milestone, we love the people at Milestone. They do such good work. So many great archival efforts. This is a movie from 1984. It is in the National Film Registry, very deservedly. It's called Bless Their Little Hearts, and it is the debut film from Billy Woodbury, who is one of the seminal figures of the L.A. Rebellion, which also included Julie Dash, who we interviewed on this show for her film Daughters of the Dust. Billy Woodbury, as it turns out, was somebody that I knew when I was in film school. And, I was in film school roughly, this was made in 1984. I was there, about 88, I think is when I got in 88, 89. So, and Billy Woodbury was working in the UCLA film department at the time. And I thought, it's just one, you see the teachers, you see the staff, you see the people working, renting you equipment, doing whatever. And there's people, they work in there. You don't realize that some of them may be filmmakers. It sort of doesn't dawn on you until your screenwriting teacher says, yeah, I wrote this movie. And you go, really? Why are you teaching here?
Hollywood works that way.
Because Hollywood works that way. Some of them have won Oscars. And that's just how it is, steady paycheck is something that doesn't come very easily in Hollywood. And that was revolutionary. That's when I learned about the L.A. Rebellion, which was a collection of black filmmakers who had gone to UCLA Film School who wanted to take the next step beyond. Charles Burnett. These are people that said, we're not just about pimps and cops and Shaft and Dolomite and all of this stuff. That there are stories to be told artistically in a crossover way that will speak both to the community and to people who need to understand the community. Yeah. And that's what the L.A. Rebellion was about. And Julie Dash did that. And Bless Their Little Hearts is an amazing movie. If you're not weeping multiple times in this movie, you do not have a heart. It's the story of a man who's having a hard time supporting his family. His wife is supporting the family. And it is about his struggles with manhood, his sense of manhood, both internal, but also what he feels is expected of him as a black father, as a black man in a household. And he winds up to recover that sense by having an affair, and it is that affair that then impacts everything else in an extraordinary and cataclysmic and devastating way. It is a powerful film. It is a beautiful film. It is a poetic film. And what wonderful, wonderful restoration work has been done on this by the UCLA Film and Television Archive and Ross Lipman. Just absolutely wonderful. Milestone just did a great job overseeing all of this. And there's a wonderful commentary on here with Ed Guerrero from New York University. There is a restoration of Billy Woodbury's first film from 1980 called The Pocketbook, which is also beautiful. And a workshop with Billy, courtesy of Indiana University Black Film Center. And a Ross Lippman interview, an interview with Ed Guerrero, the NYU professor who does the commentary, and then a very, very personal behind-the-scenes photos that Billy Woodbury himself took during the shooting of it. So you just it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I hope that there is cause to put this onto Blu-ray someday because it absolutely deserves it. But for now, you got the DVD, and it is a wonderful discovery. Bless Their Little Hearts by the great Billy Woodbury.
Yeah, fantastic.
Let's see. A few other classic titles here, and we should kind of start to wrap up some of this. We got couple things there, couple things here. Yeah, we'll dot these things, and then we'll get into our Galaxy Quest finale. A Man for All Seasons is out again from Columbia and Sony. This is an MOD version of it, so you should look for that. It was out previously from Twilight Time. This one has a Life of St. Thomas More featurette on it. Man for All Seasons, of course, Best Picture winner. Written by Robert Bolt, directed by Fred Zinnemann from 1966. The second consecutive, or not consecutive, but second Best Picture winner of the decade, written by Robert Bolt. The first being, of course, Lawrence of Arabia. And this is great. Paul Scofield playing Robert Moore. An absolutely superb Oscar-winning performance, and an amazing supporting performance as well by Robert Shaw playing Henry VIII. Great stuff all the way through. Really one of the all-time great films of the 1960s. Also includes a very young John Hurt. So check that out. That's A Man for All Seasons on MOD Blu-ray. Got a couple of weird culty titles here too. One is called Skateboard. Not a very good film, but kind of a cult film. This is about a guy who's an agent who's he's in debt to this bookie, and he's got to come up with money really fast. So he puts together like a team of skateboarders as a way of trying to sort of dig himself out of debt. Makes no sense. It's made in 1978 for not a lot of money, but Leif Garrett is in it. Very, very young Leif Garrett, so that's got to be worth something. George Gage and Tony Alva, the world's first big skateboarding champion, who's actually in the movie. They do the audio commentary. George Gage does an interview. Tony Alva does an interview. It's all right, I mean, it's a cult movie. It's a DVD, and if you've never heard of the movie, it's not going to impress you. But and George Gage didn't really go on to direct anything else, but it's okay. It's got some good skateboarding in it. If you're a skateboarding historian, you'll probably enjoy that much, if not the story. And then My Samurai. What a bizarre movie from 1992 this was. This has Mako and Julian Lee in it. It's not a very good martial arts movie, but it's part of the MVD Rewind collection, so it has that VHS look to it. And it's got a VHS, feel. It's one of those movies from the early 90s, AFM specials, I used to always call them, directed by Fred Dresch, who didn't really go on to do much of anything else. But you know what? Mako is in it, and I love Mako. So anything else that Mako is in, I'm always going to recommend, just because Mako is super cool. But otherwise, My Samurai, modestly interesting. Terry O'Quinn also in it, if that's worth anything to anybody.
A couple left over here. Including a couple of Norwegian films. This is a two-film collection pack. The first one being The Wave, which is loosely based on true stories. A true story about this scientist, a geologist, and he's going to work in this particular pass in Norway. And a big chunk of the mountain, the glacier, falls off into the ocean and creates this gigantic wave, sort of tsunami. They don't call them tsunamis.
This actually happened.
Yeah, this actually happened.
Yeah.
There, and they made a movie about that. 2015-16, something like that. Nice, thrilling Norwegian thriller is what it really is. And then they made another movie, same character, same guy, same family. And the movie is The Quake. So he moves his family, he gets away from the coast, away from the
waves. That didn't happen.
No, that didn't happen. They made this one up totally and completely. And then you have this movie, The Quake. It's a 2-disc collection. Both of these films are actually pretty good that you're watching. Both rated R. Not a whole lot of special features in the package, though. I would have thought it would have come a little bit more, sort of tying these two things together. Nevertheless, kind of cool. The 1999 film Snow Falling on Cedars.
People hated this, and I loved it.
Oh man, this movie got so beat up,
and I loved it.
Back then, I'm not really sure Scott Hicks directing. Ethan Hawke's Max von Sydow. I don't know. I thought it was a rather lovely, moving, touching film.
I thought it was really poetic, and it deals significantly with it's an interracial romance,
Japanese,
and deals
American
with
woman.
it deals with the internment camps during World War II and all that. But there's the scene. There's a scene, an extended evacuation scene, moving the Japanese citizens into the internment camp, which is all visual, no dialogue, and it's just, I think it's a beautiful piece of cinema. I don't think it gets enough credit.
Yeah,
so it's
beautifully
nice
shot too.
Great that's on Blu-ray.
Sam Shepard, just everybody in the movie. Quartet. The 1981 Quartet.
James Ivory.
James Ivory film. Beautiful movie. Young Alan Bates, Isabella Gianni. A young woman, her husband goes to prison, who's an art collector. He goes to prison. She ends up in this family, Maggie Smith, Alan Bates, and a very bizarre little relationship sort of develops out of all that. It's a classic Ivory, Merchant Ivory, Ivory Merchant film. Beautifully done. This film from the Cohen collection here.
Fantastic.
And it's just absolutely wonderful. This has all kinds of wonderful special features on it. You should definitely check that out.
And we got a couple here from VCI, and then we're going to talk about Galaxy Quest and wrap the show out. The two VCI titles, and VCI always finds these really cool little kind of eccentric gems that are part of film history. The first one is Lost City of the Jungle, 13 chapters in this serial story, which was remastered in 2K from the original 35mm fine-grain Elements. So it looks as good as it's going to look. These things were not shot particularly well originally, but what's really interesting is that you're talking about something here that was made in 1946. And when typically if there was an Asian actor in something, it was going to be a white actor in yellowface. Not the case here. Key Luke, who of course would go on to be in television's Kung Fu, is young and handsome and is the central figure here, basically. Very, very kind of a shocking, he plays Tal Shan, who is the United Peace Foundation investigator in this thing. And it's really, he's the one that stands out. It really kind of changes the whole nature of what you expect from movies and serials in the 1940s, which disappeared just a few years later with the advent of television. But this is a great, this is a really, really cool artifact. As a serial, it picks up right where World War II ends, and it goes into the it kind of ties the old serialized adventures into an atomic age paranoia, and it's a really, really interesting artifact of the era from 1946. Lost City of the Jungle, also starring Jane Addams and John Eldridge and John Miljohn. And the other one from VCI is Brother, Can You Spare a Dime? Brother, Can You Spare a Dime is a documentary look at the lean years of American history, the Depression, and everything that sort of was sociologically and culturally entwined with that. And it's really this was made in 1975 and has a lot of it goes deeply into the movies and how the movies culturally reflected and perhaps in some cases did not reflect or tried to ease over as in a therapeutic way what was happening in the 1930s. And it's a really, really good film. I'm glad that it's been resurrected and that it's out again. And that is from a VCI, and it has a whole hour of Pathé newsreels from the era as well. So it's got a lot of extras on it. It's really a terrific movie. And it's kind of a lost artifact in many respects too. All right, we're going to wrap up with the 20th anniversary Steelbook release of Galaxy Quest, a movie that is absolutely wonderful. We're giving away 2 of these. There's no reason to even tell you how great this movie is. Look, this takes Star Trek fandom to a whole new level.
Yeah.
It makes fun of it, but in a really loving way. And Tim Allen and Sigourney Weaver and Alan Rickman, Tony Shalhoub, Sam Rockwell. I mean, it's fantastic. This movie was absolutely great. Directed by Dean Parisot, written by David Howard and Robert Gordon. The original script written by David Howard, who is a very dear and old friend of mine. And I remember very well being at a party when I first met David Howard years and years and years and years ago, and he pitched me the idea of this spec script that he was writing that was kind of based on Star. I mean, I was there, man.
Yeah.
I got pitched the idea, and the years go by, and next thing you know, Galaxy Quest is a movie, and there it is. It wasn't called Galaxy Quest originally, but we'll get to my my interview with Dave Howard shortly. Anyway, this we're giving away 2 of these, and this comes with the Galactopedia, the Story of Galaxy Quest featurette, lots of other featurettes, things on creating the Thermians and deleted scenes. It's really, really a lot of fun. It is a beautiful, beautiful Blu-ray. We're giving away 2 of these. Just send us an email to gods@digigods.com or gods@cinegods.com. And in the subject line, put Thermian. Thermian. No funny spellings. Thermian. If you're a fan of this movie, you'll know how to spell it.
That is, yeah.
And then put your name and address in the body of the email, and 2 very lucky people will win a copy of this. We are going to choose a winner on Friday, November 8th. So make sure your email gets to us by Friday, November 8th, and we will we'll have a lot of fun. All right. With that, now we're going to go into my interview with David Howard, and that's going to take us out with a wonderful, lovely surprise. You guys are going to be absolutely elated. Here is the interview with David Howard, the creator and writer of Galaxy Quest.
And it is my enormous privilege to be speaking again with my good friend David Howard, who was one of the writers and the originator of Galaxy Quest. And it's always a pleasure to sort of revisit this amazing piece of pop culture. Dave, when you first pitched this to me, it was at a party, and it had a different title. And what was that title?
That was it was called Captain Starshine at the time, and the fun with that was my protagonist. I can't even remember the name of my protagonist, but he absolutely hated that because it was so demeaning, and they called him Captain Starshine around town, and he just hated the moniker and hated wearing it. So there was kind of a character thing there.
Where did your curiosity originally come up for converting for taking this was sort of the first time that anybody had gone with a pop culture phenomenon like Star Trek, like the great science fiction shows of old, and thought, let's kind of do it in a fond, semi-comedic way. Let's sort of pay irreverent reverence to it. And that has become more of a thing recently. This was literally the first time. Where was your head at that moment in time?
It's interesting because the idea came to me from it was like from out of the blue. I wasn't looking for something like that. I was writing a play at the time, and there were scenes in this play that took place in Africa, and as a starving, penniless writer, I thought, yeah, I'd really like to go to Africa, but I don't have any money, so I'll do the next best thing. I'll go see an IMAX film about Africa. I know that's pathetic, but so I ended up down at the IMAX theaters down at USC, and one of the trailers before the film that I was there to watch was this documentary that NASA had produced called Americans in Space, and it started with this gorgeous 70 millimeter shot of the complete Earth, orbiting, rotating, and this voice said Americans in Space. And you know how it is when you're watching TV and you hear a sponsor for a commercial and you go, I know that voice, I know who that is, and then you like, rather than paying attention to the product, you're trying to remember, is this Richard Dreyfuss? Is this whomever? And finally it hit me. Oh, it's Robert. This is Leonard Nimoy.
Right.
And I just went through this process of thinking, how did they get to Leonard Nimoy? And I thought, oh, they probably tried Bill Shatner first, but he costs too much. Or let's get Patrick Stewart. Oh, he's in England. Well, who's next on the list? And I started thinking about how those guys were so hopelessly trapped in these, so hopelessly typecast that they were going to be doing those things forever. and it just struck me of what a prison that was. And of course, there was that iconic Saturday Night Live sketch where William Shatner told all the Trekkies to get a life, and I thought, oh, this world is just so rich in terms of the the genuine desire to create that makes an actor become an actor, and then getting trapped in a world that can seem so reductive and so limiting. And so it really started as a character piece. But then to kind of transition to your question, in terms of involving the, it started as a character piece that I was thinking almost as a play, and then just the idea of being at the conventions, that just was like going to be naturally the place where that was all going to come to a head. And then the idea that, oh, what if there were real aliens in the, in the audience? And I thought, oh, now I've really got something. And suddenly, like, it became really high concept. And then the relationship between the Trekkies and the aliens and the cast, that all sort of came out of that. But I really should say that as the script was, and honestly, mine was meaner. Mine was less sympathetic to the audience and the fans, and it became sweeter and more gentle through the subsequent rewrites of the story. So that's kind of how it happened.
It was still right there. I mean, you were at the crest of this. We have, even the Orville now, Seth MacFarlane's show, which really seems like a very, very Galaxy Quest inspired. I mean, it was it was in the zeitgeist, and it's all kind of caught fire now, and Comic-Con has become a bigger thing now. Are you sort of are you amazed that the culture has gone, that you were sort of at the crest of this, and that the culture has veered in that same direction?
Oh yeah, it's interesting because I have kids that are in their late teens, early 20s, and they know about it, of course, and there are friends of theirs who have never heard of it. But I am so amazed that people still know about it, because I know I know the day that it opened, Christmas Day, 1999. Of course, I remember that date, and I could tell you the other 5 or 6 wide release features that were released on that day, and none of those are even remembered at this point. But there still is a life there, and there are people who are still very excited to talk about it, and there are young people who are discovering it. I was talking to my son the other day, who's in college, and he said he follows memes and Reddit and all those things, and he said, I see something on Galaxy Quest like every other day, and it's usually somebody saying, I just watched this great film, how come I've never heard of it? So it does still have a life of its own. So.
Well, Sam Rockwell is everywhere now, and he's an Oscar winner, and yet whenever I talk to people about their favorite Sam Rockwell moments, we always come up with the same line, which is, oh, that's not right. And so there were so many people that Alan Rickman, it's still one of his most popular roles. It really has found its way into the culture and remains there, and that's why this great new Steelbook release on Blu-ray, I think, is just going to do beautifully over the holidays. Let's talk for a quick second here before I let you go about the impending other version of Galaxy Quest that you've been involved in, and that I think our listeners will take a deep interest in.
Sure. Okay, so what's been in the works for several years? There's probably some foundational information that maybe most of your listeners will not know, unless they're like totally entertainment nerds like you, Wade, and me. Galaxy Quest was based on a spec script that I wrote that I sold to DreamWorks, and it was covered by the WGA agreement, minimum basic agreement. And one of the things that's stipulated in that agreement is that if a studio buys an existing intellectual property, that there are certain rights that the writer that revert back to the right. Usually the studios buy all the rights, but there's certain parts of the property that the rights revert back to the writer if they aren't exploited after a number of years. They're called separated rights, and one of those separated rights is the right to do a live action theatrical version of the story. So one of the things I've been doing in the ensuing, couple of decades since it came out is I started working with a really talented composer named Brett Simmons, and we've written several musicals together, one of which played off Broadway for a couple of months. And some of our work has made its way into the catalog of a licensing company. And in my bio, which was in the licensing company, it mentions Galaxy Quest, of course, because that's probably the most important thing I've ever done. So these directors kept calling the owner of the licensing company and saying, why isn't there a Galaxy Quest musical? So, and honestly, I didn't get it. I thought, you got to be, how is that going to work? But I can't discuss the people with whom I'm working at this point, but I can say that we have a second draft of the script. We have a complete score. We have a director who has been nominated for a Tony, who's helping us develop the work, and we have a Broadway producer who are all associated with the project, and they're talking to Paramount now about the rights for the name, which is another aspect of the whole deal that has to happen. But anyway, it's very exciting. We've been talking for a number of years, and what's funny is when I met with this director, I asked her, I said, "Can you do this?" And she goes, "Absolutely." Yeah, I said, "You see this working as a miracle?" And she said, "As a musical," and she says, "Absolutely." And she said, "What I want you to do is I want you and Brett go away and you write the impossible script that you would like this to be, and then it'll be my job to translate that into something that can work on the stage." And so we did that, and it was really it's a fascinating process to convert something from another medium, especially a film, because the way a film is structured, it's in 60-second increments usually. Sure. And the world is enormous. I mean, take Galaxy Quest, it's like several, it's the galaxy, no pun intended. And yeah. So we found ourselves having to decide how we could represent that and what we could do to make those sequences satisfying in a live action theatrical musical way, taken from these little 60-second 2-minute scenes that make up a film. And what was interesting is we found ourselves digging into the backstory of the characters. So in our draft of the film, Jason Nesmith, he has a son with whom he has no relationship whatsoever. And there's this, and I mean, they coexist, and there's no animosity there. And I mean, I know some people are going to go, "Oh, you got to be kidding me, you're doing that." But it's just like a very short scene, but it gives us a window into who he is and why he's. And his son really has very little respect for his work. We see him watching Galaxy Quest on the TV series, which is still on the air, and it's really just, this is the moneymaker, Dad. This is where we this is paid for everything, and so the joke about his life's work being just so unfulfilling, so artistically unfulfilling, is reinforced there, and he sings a song there about if he could really have been a real hero, if he could really had fought real battles, and how that would have been, which kind of layers into the whole story of what happens to the cast in the show, where actors have to step into those roles and become the heroic figures that they've been pretending to be all this time. And plus, there's so much fun to be had with the people who come to the conventions, because it is such a phenomenon there. So it's been a really fun process.
Well, being as I have heard some of the music, and we're going to treat our listeners to one of the songs for our Out Music this week, I can say it's something that we all are really, really looking forward to. David, thank you so much for speaking with us. Best of luck with everything going forward. Can't wait for the musical version of this to come to fruition. And with that, we're going to let our listeners. We're going to let our listeners enjoy the opening number. Here we go. We're going to go out with that. Thank you, David. Thank you for speaking to us.
Can't wait. My pleasure. Thanks a lot. Right. Bye-bye.
Fellow galactic travelers, welcome to the 18th annual Galaxy Quest Convention. No doubt about it, my life really sucks. No job, no girlfriend, I've got no big bucks, but I found me a place where the shame and disgrace doesn't bother me. I could be taller,
I could have more hair.
Sure, I have acne, today I don't care. Cause my this is all based on the whole human race is the same, you see. Don't care if the size and the sounds may be fictional here. The way that I'm feeling inside is making it completely clear. Better than life, better than truth. Sure, it sounds crazy, but here's the proof. There's nowhere else that I'd rather be today. Better than love, better than sex. When we're together with the special effects. There's nowhere else that I'd rather be today.
Today I'm Android.
Today I'm Mactar.
Today I'm packing a brain in a jar.
Cause when you leave the earth, there's a jump in self-worth that feels very real.
Today I'm sexy,